Blue acceleration, the impact of capitalism on the ocean. Blue acceleration is the trajectory of human expansion into the ocean. When I think of capitalism, my mind doesn't go immediately to the ocean. But the ocean is truly the basis of capitalism. Using the ocean for human expansion isn't new to us. Just look at the age of exploration. Waterways have always been used as transport for goods and for people. But during the age of exploration, we developed ways to get materials across the world. And we made new trade routes that are still in use today. This is where I believe the beginning of blue acceleration truly lies. On Earth, we will always be plagued by economic problems of scarcity, which is the idea of mankind's limitless wants but limited resources. As we grow, demand for land and resources climb, but to put it frankly, we are running out of land, which includes natural resources used to produce goods and services. So we are now looking to the ocean for expansion and solutions like we did during the Age of Exploration. We use the ocean for so much from food to materials and just as space. If you look back in history, civilizations have always began near the water, whether that meant rivers or the ocean. It has always been used as a food source. Humans have eaten fish or just things that come from the ocean for over 1 million years. But only in the last century has the Industrial Revolution and the rise of capitalism demanded for the industrialization of fishing, because seafood has been the world's fastest growing industry, and fish has become one of the most traded food commodities. This industrialization of fishing industry had led to methods such as bottom trawling, which rips up the bottom of the ocean and collects bycatch. Bycatch is the unwanted fish and other marine creatures caught during commercial fishing. These actions destroy the foundation of our ocean's ecosystem, which in turn destroys the ecosystems on land. From the ocean, we also take materials like oil and natural gases. The oil and gas sector is the largest ocean-based industry, and other materials like sand and gravel have become the most mined mineral in the marine environment because of the increasing global demand for the construction industry. These actions continue to pollute and destroy the ocean that they are trying to use for resources. Our oceans are also used as extra space, transport ways, or tourist destinations. Maritime transport accounts for over 80% of global trade by volume and more than 70% of its value. Or how 1.3 million kilometers of undersea fiber optic cables carry 99% of international telecommunications. We as humans have always depended on the ocean, from the littlest to the biggest things. But the more we depend on the ocean, the more we destroy it in a capitalistic society. 3 of the main trends destroying the ocean are directly linked to blue acceleration: ocean acidification, aquaculture, and marine fish capture. The first 2 continue to grow exponentially, while fish capture has leveled off only because overfishing has wiped out all major fish populations. This industrialization of the ocean is making way for new conquests and risks with global warming that are somewhat unpredictable. We hardly know anything about our deep oceans. In fact, we know more about outer space than we do about our ocean. So to be shooting a shot in the dark is extremely stupid, even if it's in the name of economic growth. In 2010, there was the BP oil spill, and it released 4.9 billion gallons of oil into the Gulf of Mexico and destroyed the ecosystem that is still now, 10 years later, not completely recovered. And it's things like this that constantly happen with the economy making oil so desirable. Capitalism runs contrary to the idea of economic policy. Capitalism is the economic system in which the means of production are controlled by private owners and the corporations, and the drive behind capitalism is the profit and the accumulation of capital. Capitalism is a monster that grows and demands more and more profit each year and does not take into account the long-term planning. In the 70s, Exxon, the oil and gas company, was at the forefront of climate research. They saw the effect of how detrimental fossil fuels were to this planet, yet the company chose to hide this information from the public. In fact, they even went as far as to make a half-century campaign to try and convince people that global warming wasn't real and it had no truly bad effects on our ecosystem or atmosphere. So that the company, instead of working with policymakers and the public to save this planet, secured their short-term profit at the expense of the long-term. The issue is that capitalism is not willing to risk the profit to save the world, and if mega corporations that fund politics don't bend to help the earth, neither will the politicians that don't want to risk their long-term funding. The oil and gas industry also happens to be one of the biggest political lobbies, and they make their profit from exploiting the earth and the people on it. Marine areas in the past couple years have stagnated, while the exploratory mining licenses have been granted for over 1.3 million kilometers of the seabed in areas just beyond national jurisdiction, and the exploitation of regulations are expected to be approved within the next 2 years. The IPCC is the Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change, and they work with the UN. They have issued in their Climate and Land Report for the many things that we must do as humans to slow climate change, such as the need to implement comprehensive early warning systems for extreme weather and other things like observational programs to monitor land use and degradation of biodiversity and the spread of disease-bearing insects. As a society, we need to fund programs that promote sustainable land management, which will help prevent famine and desertification. Policymakers should be focusing on bringing damaged or endangered soil and biomes back from the brink and drastically reducing greenhouse gases emissions across all sectors, including oil, gas, agriculture, transportation, and leisure. The IPCC says that we must achieve these things now, but we know that capitalism will make it nearly impossible. To save the ocean and this earth, we must rethink our current economic system. If you want the continuation of humankind on this planet,